You are Locked On Knicks Postcast, part of Locked On Sports New York on the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
All right, this one was over early, and because of it, we have another round, a fresh 7-game series coming up because the Knicks have eliminated the Celtics. They win Game 6 at the Garden tonight, 119-81, an absolute blowout. And as we said, because of it, the Knicks are moving on to the Eastern Conference Finals for the first time in a generation, 25 years. The year was 2000, the last time the Knicks were in the Eastern Conference Finals. Again, they win Game 6 over the Celtics tonight, 119-81. Hi, everyone. I'm Jay Berman. If you're a New Yorker, you might recognize my work. I've spent more than 2 decades in the biz, everything from TV to web to radio. Glad to have you. Please follow me on X as well, at Jay Berman, Jayberman. Welcome to the Locked On Knicks Postcast, both on the Locked On Sports New York YouTube channel and the Locked On Knicks podcast feed. The Postcast gives you a place to hang out after every single Knicks game. We, of course, are part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Before we begin, let's let you know that this episode is brought to you by Prize Picks. Download the app today. Use code LOCKEDONNBA to get $50 instantly when you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks, run your game. All right, folks, let's get right to it.
This is what you'll be talking about.
In perhaps one of the greatest postseason victories in Knicks history, well, guess what? It was one of the worst losses in franchise history for the Celtics. That's right. The largest playoff win ever for the Knicks. They win by 38. Amazing stuff. And because of it, the Knicks are out of the Eastern Conference Finals for the first time in a generation. 25 years on the nose. It was 2000. In fact, the Knicks clinched a postseason series at home for the first time since 1999. The Knicks had 5 chances since then to clinch a series at home. They lost all 5 until tonight. So they finally get the job done. They eliminate the Celtics in 6, who obviously were shorthanded tonight. They live by the 3. They die by the 3. And they certainly died by the 3 tonight. Boston, for what it's worth, 12 of 41 from 3. Now, to be fair, this one was over in the first half. Knicks outscored the Celtics 26-20 after 1, 38-17 in the second quarter. And as we said, at that point, the game was over. Jaylen Brown pumped in 13 in the very first quarter. It looked like the Celtics would keep things close. But as we said, the second quarter changed everything, and the Knicks pulled away. Cat had 16 in the first half alone. Meanwhile, the Knicks defense, specifically the three-point defense, excellent. Kudos to them. Kudos to Tibbs for getting the job done schematically. Drew Holiday and Derek White, who have been killers for the Celtics in this series, they totaled 0 points in the first quarter. In fact, Holiday didn't score his first points until one of the last baskets of the first half for the Celtics. And as we said, by then, they were already down over 20. But again, the Knicks, as we said, a comfortable wire-to-wire win tonight. It was also the first time the Knicks led at the half in this series. And again, most of the time, most of the series, with the exception of this game, the Celtics have actually had the lead, but obviously not tonight. It was the first time in the entire series the Knicks had the lead at the half. Now, the Knicks also held Boston to a season-low 37 points in the first half. It was also tied for the largest halftime lead in a postseason game in franchise history. So really, there was nothing like tonight to sort of think back on and compare it to. It was just such a special night tonight for all the right reasons. Wait till you see some of these numbers. Impressive stuff. As for the Knicks starters, 4 players with at least 20. 22 for Bridges, 23 for OG, 21 for Cat, And Jalen Brunson, Captain Clutch, had 23. By the way, Josh Hart, we'll get to him in a minute, had another triple-double, 10, 11, and 11. And again, a note on that coming up. The Knicks emptied the bench tonight as well. Obviously, that came a little bit later than we all wanted to, keeping your fingers crossed when you're playing essentially a quarter and a half to 2 quarters of meaningless basketball with your starters in there. So yes, the minutes police have no reason but to shut up until tonight, when, to be honest, I was getting a little nervous. Get the starters off the floor when you're up 40. It seemed like the Knicks were up 30-40 for about an hour and a half. So again, nitpicking with Tibbs, but again, I was a little bit nervous. As for Josh Hart, we told you, yet another triple-double, 10, 11, and 11. He, of course, set the single-season franchise record for most triple-doubles with 9. He now has the first triple-double in Knicks postseason history since Clyde did it all the way back in 1972, and just the third Knick ever to register a triple-double in the postseason. As we said, 10, 11, and 11 for Josh Hart. He was brilliant. 23 each for OG and Brunson, as we said. Knicks shot 46% from the floor, 42 of 91. They were pretty good from 3, 16 of 46. That's 35%. And as we said, keeping the Celtics down, forcing ugly three-point shots. Even when the Celtics had open shots, they were missing them anyways. So anytime a hand was in the face of a three-pointer, kudos to the Knicks defense, because it seemed like that three-pointer missed. As we said, 12 of 41. If you recall, the Celtics, who of course lost both games to the Knicks in Boston to start the series, were 25 for 100. 25 for 100 from 3 after the first 2 games. Obviously, games 3 through 5 changed dramatically, especially from 3 for the Celtics. But again, they fall right back into that trap of hoisting threes, most of them poor. 12 of 41 from 3. That's 29%. And that's more like games 1 and 2 than games 3, 4, and 5. As for the plus minus, we'll talk about it briefly because it's significant in that there are some seriously high and some seriously low numbers. For the Knicks, Jalen Brunson was a plus 30. By contrast, Derek White, who played just 30 minutes, was a minus 45. Now, obviously, the numbers are going to be skewed here because it was such a large blowout, and the Knicks were really up 30-40 for all of the fourth quarter and most of the third quarter. It seemed like really for the last 90 minutes to 2 hours, the Knicks were up almost 30 minimum. So it was really amazing stuff. That's why those numbers are so skewed. Minus 45 for Derek White. Jaylen Brown, who fouled out, tried everything he could to keep the Celtics in the game, was a minus 30. He had 20, by the way. And the Celtics only had 3 players in double figures, 20 for Brown, 10 for Al Horford, and Peyton Pritchard had 11. That was it. Not a single player other than those 3 on Boston were in double digits, which is just an amazing number. As we said, we even got some PJ Tucker action tonight. He played 4 minutes. Deuce McBride was effective off the bench. He played 32 minutes tonight. He scored 10 points, hit a couple of threes, and he too was a plus 20. So again, those numbers are phenomenal. As we said, 16 of 46 from 3 for the Knicks. And again, they eliminate the Celtics tonight in 6. What's also interesting is, we'll get to the Pacers. Here's something that we saw tonight, or at least found out tonight, that's really interesting. I hadn't realized it until now. Of course, the Knicks will have home court. We'll get to the schedule. They'll have home court in the Eastern Conference Finals against the Pacers. Revenge also on the minds of the Knicks, who were ousted in 7 in the second round last year to the Pacers, so perhaps some revenge. And don't forget, obviously it was a different team last year, but the Knicks were banged up when they lost in 7 to the Pacers. They're not banged up now. They are healthy. All right, so here's that note. Thunder and Nuggets play a game 7 If the Thunder lose game 7 to the Nuggets, that would mean the Knicks would be guaranteed home court advantage through the NBA Finals if they get there. Obviously, we are not putting them through to the finals just yet, but some interesting happenings with the schedule, if you will. Again, if the Thunder lose game 7 of the Nuggets, the Knicks would be guaranteed home court advantage through the NBA Finals if they got there. All right, we'll take a break. We have the schedule to get to. It's very interesting. A few days off for the Knicks after a 119-81 win over the Celtics. We'll obviously do player of the game as well, and take a look at that Eastern Conference Finals schedule. All right, basketball and hockey playoffs are heating up, and there's no better way to turn your sports knowledge into real rewards than with Prize Picks, the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy. With Prize Picks, you simply pick more or less on at least 2 player projections, and you're in. You can even combine players across sports, basketball, hockey, baseball. Can't do football because there's no football right now. For your chance to win up to 2,000 times your cash. What I love is how easy it is to set up your lineup in less than a minute. Prize Picks even runs cool promos like Taco Tuesday, where they discount player projections up to 25% for even more value, and payouts are fast, safe, and secure. Download the app today. Use code LOCKEDONNBA to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code LOCKEDONNBA. You'll get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks. Run your game. All right, next up is game time. There's nothing like the NBA playoffs, the intensity, the buzzer beaters, the fans losing their minds. It's the kind of atmosphere you must experience live. And this year's matchups are already delivering. If you want in, Game Time makes it fast and easy to get seats, even for the biggest playoff games. Prices on the app actually drop closer to tip-off, and with killer last-minute deals, panoramic seat views, and no surprise fees, Game Time is a total game changer. I was just on the app looking at Knicks Pacers tickets coming up, and zone deals were offering 60% off in great sections. I love that I can see my exact view before I buy. Absolutely no surprises. The NFL schedule release just dropped, and you better believe I'm already looking at my fall calendar and picking which games to hit. Game Time makes scoring NFL tickets just as easy. You'll find great seats for as low as $100 thanks to exclusive discounts. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. Last-minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. All right, 119-81, the final score as the Knicks eliminate the Celtics, the shorthanded Celtics. Obviously, with no Jason Tatum, it still counts, though, and for the first time in 25 years. Folks, that's a generation. Right on the nose, 25 years. The last time the Knicks were in the Eastern Conference Finals. The last time the Knicks clinched a series on their home court, 1 year more than that, 26 years, 1999. And that changed tonight when the Knicks eliminated the Celtics. You know what time it is.
This is the Locked On Player of the Game.
All right, to no one's surprise, it's Jalen Brunson once again. Captain Clutch, 23 points, 6 rebounds, 6 assists, 2 turnovers. And of course, led the way to one of the most important playoff wins in Knicks history. Now, obviously, there are 2 rings, and those were many years ago. But the way things went down tonight, the atmosphere, everything about it at Madison Square Garden felt like one of the biggest Knicks wins ever. It certainly was the largest playoff win ever, and that can't be disputed. Also worthy of mention, which is amazing, The Celtics were 10-2 without Tatum this season, including 2-0 in the playoffs, one against the Magic and obviously the last game against the Knicks. That changed today. They finally lose in the playoffs without Tatum, and that record now 10-3 without Tatum this year. And for what it's worth, the Celtics are heading to the golf course. All right. As we said, the bench emptied at the 4-minute mark of the fourth quarter. Little bit too much playing time for my liking. But again, the minutes police at this point in time has to keep their mouth shut. All right, let's do the schedule now. As we said, Knicks and Pacers won't begin before Wednesday. Wednesday, game 1 at the Garden. Friday, game 2 at the Garden. Wednesday and Friday. So we have some time off. All 7 games will tip at 8 Eastern. Again, Wednesday, game 1, Friday, game 2, Sunday and Tuesday back in Indianapolis for games 3 and 4. So again, Wednesday, game 1 at the Garden, Friday, game 2 at the Garden, Sunday, game 3 in Indianapolis. So it should be a very interesting series. Thanks for making Locked On Sports New York your first listen today. For your second listen, check out Locked On NBA Game Night. Every game, every night, until an NBA champion is crowned. Get local analysis on a national scale. Find NBA Game Night on Locked On NBA on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. Also want to mention our partners in crime over at Locked On Knicks, Gavin Shaw and Alex Wolf. Again, they handle all the stuff at Locked On Knicks, so follow, subscribe, and enjoy. Speaking of enjoying, that's what the Knicks did tonight. They roughed up the Celtics 119-81. Knicks are headed back to the Eastern Conference Finals for the first time in a quarter century. 2000 was the last time the Knicks were there. All right. Again, 119-81. Game 1 will be Wednesday. And of course, we will be with you right here on the Postcast immediately following. Congratulations to all Knicks fans and have a great night.